Hey everyone! Right now I want to show you how you can quickly create, deploy and test a simple HTTP service. In this series of videos I will be demonstrating some of the possibilities by building several use cases in ConnectPlaza. In this video I will be demonstrating how to build a simple HTTP integration flow. We will be touching on how to configure such a flow in Constructor, upload resources, build and deploy a bundle, and a test to make sure the interface works. First off, what do we need to achieve this? We will need to use the constructor to build a flow and bundle the interface. We will need deploy to perform the deployment to the runtime agent and a running agent to actually execute the flow as needed. We will build a flow that will expose an HTTP endpoint and will retrieve a predefined dataset from a file. We will test our flow by executing a request through the browser to perform a GET request. Okay, so let's get started. To start, on the left side, I will add a new interface to my business connector. By clicking on the plus sign, I can add a new interface. We will name this interface HTTP interface and click on Save. By clicking on the interface, I can open it and see its contents. By clicking on Flows, we can see all flows configured for this interface. We will be adding a new flow by clicking the plus sign next to Flows. Here we can enter a name for our flow. We will name our flow HTTP flow and click on Save. After hitting Save, Constructor will automatically open the empty flow for you. We will work our way down, starting with Consumer and then the Producer. By clicking on the plus sign next to Consumer, the type library will open. By choosing HTTP Listener and dragging it to our Consumer box, we can add it by simply dropping it into place. As you can see, the HTTP listener was added as the consumer. Next, we will add our producer. Similarly to adding a consumer, it can be achieved by clicking on the plus sign next to producer and choose the reply producer and dropping it into the producer box. This will make sure the HTTP consumer will offer a reply to the external requester. And finally, we will add a service. In this case, we want our flow, which is now exposed through HTTP, to reply some dataset back to the requester. This dataset will be provided by adding a file reader service that will dynamically read a file from either the local file system or read a file that was included in the resources of the interface's bundle. By opening our resources segment of the interface, we can see all added resources. By clicking the plus sign, we can add new resources by dragging and dropping them onto the upload dialog box from our machine. We will upload a simple file containing some data. Next order of business is to configure our building blocks. We will start with the consumer. By double-clicking on the HTTP consumer, we can open its properties. We will need to provide a few settings to make the consumer work. We will not be changing the hostname and port for this consumer, as we want to use the default HTTP connector. We will also not be configuring any SSL at this moment. We will need to provide a context path to create a request URL. This path is added to the host and port number, so an HTTP URL can be created. We will use /example as our context path. We'll need to click Save to confirm our changes. Next, we need to configure our file reader service that will act as a data provider for this flow. We will need to specify a data file. We can specify the data file by simply dragging and dropping the included resource from our resources. This way, we make sure the file is read when activated. The last step will be our reply producer, which will need no further configuration. Our flow is now ready for testing. By clicking on the plus sign next to bundles, we can create a new bundle. We will choose a snapshot version, as we will only be testing this flow now. Now we move on to deploy, as our work in Constructor is done. By clicking the Deploy tab, we'll switch here. The Deploy overview will show all interface bundles organized per business connector. Since we were working in a business connector, I can open this by clicking on it. Here we'll see all bundles that are ready for deployment. By double-clicking on the bundle that's visible under Ready to Install, it will bring up the version dialog. This dialog box shows all available versions for this interface. One bundle will only have one version. Remember that each bundle will have a unique version. By double-clicking on the bundle, we can open the parameters dialog and click on Install. After a few seconds, the bundle will be installed and running. Now for the test. We will direct our browser to HTTP, localhost, and port number 8088/example. And we should see the dataset appear in our browser. I hope you will find these tutorial videos useful, so be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and be notified as we add more tutorial videos for ConnectPlaza. Thanks for watching.